Will investing make you rich? It's a hotly debated question, but I think the answer is yes. But one of my favorite financial YouTubers, The Plain Bagel, made a video saying that investing won't make you rich. So I decided I had to make my own video on the topic. And here's the thing, I don't disagree with anything that The Plain Bagel said in that video. He's totally right. But I still think that investing can make you rich. This video is an attempt to show you how. To get rich investing, there are three different variables that you have to optimize in the wealth building formula. But one of them is much more important than the others. Let's get into it. Okay, first, I need to ask you a question. What does it even mean to be rich? Surprisingly, there's not a great answer to this. Rich means different things to different people, but a lot of the definitions I've heard have some serious problems. For example, a lot of people define rich as earning a certain income. But I don't like this definition because a lot of people earn crazy high salaries but don't save a dime. Another way to define rich is by a certain net worth. This definition is a little better, but with high enough expenses, even a fortune could be depleted. For me, being rich would entail not only being financially independent, which I'm hoping to reach before I turn 30 years old, but also being able to survive any unexpected bumps in the road. So, my personal rule of thumb would be about 50 times my annual expenses. For me personally, that would be about $1 million. But in the Plain Bagels video, his thumbnail implied that investing wouldn't make you rich enough to buy a Lamborghini. So, to prove that investing really can make you rich, I need to prove that it would give you Lamborghini money. Okay, to do that, we need a super quick background on what investing is and why it works. Typically, once a company wants to scale, it can do so by going public through an initial public offering, or IPO. By selling stock, a company can raise a lot more money to work with. In exchange, the investor, who is now a shareholder of the company, legally owns a fraction of the company's assets. The benefit of this is that over time, the company will hopefully increase in value. While speculation and other forces can create big swings in the market in the short run, the underlying drivers of the stock market are land, labor, capital, and innovation, which are the four sources of economic growth. As long as these sources of economic growth happen, the stock market will, on average, increase in value. And that's why, over the long run, index funds have increased exponentially. The stock market has gone up over time, but could it make you rich? Or more specifically, could it make you rich enough to buy a Lamborghini? Well, first, we need to understand how investments actually grow. And luckily, this is super simple. This is all it is. Future value equals present value times 1 plus the rate of return, all raised to the number of time periods. For example, if you invest $1,000 and earn a 7% rate of return for 8 years, then the future value of your investment will be $1,718.19. Things become just slightly more complex if you continue to invest over time, but we can use a super simple calculator like this one to account for those regular deposits. Okay, so that's all simple enough. And what this formula shows you is that there are three variables that will help you get rich investing. To get rich with your investments, you either need to have a high initial investment, a high rate of return, or invest over a longer time period. Ideally, a combination of all three. For example, let's say you invest $1,000 and get a 5% annual return for 15 years. Then your investment will look like this. But if Jeff Bezos earns the same return over the same period of time but invested $1 billion, then his money will look like this. Sure, you both doubled your money, but you'll have an extra $1,000 while Jeff Bezos will have an extra $1 billion. Those aren't the same. This is why I only leave a few $1,000s in my bank account in case of emergencies, and I keep the rest invested. The more money I have actively invested, the more money I'll gain. Still, in the short run, your investments won't make you rich unless you have a ton of money to invest in the first place. So, what if you could earn a crazy high rate of return? Instead of a 5% rate of return, what if you could earn a 50% rate of return? Well, instead of your wealth growing like this, it would have grown like this. After just 15 years, your $1,000 initial investment would have turned into $450,000. That's absolutely insane. But the one problem with this strategy is it's impossible to pull off. Or at least I have no idea how to do it. A 50% rate of return is several times the historical average return of the stock market. And most professional investors have failed to do even that well. So, if you're a regular investor like me, trying to beat the market isn't always advisable. So, you probably aren't starting out with $1 billion, and beating the market is tough. There's just one more variable we can control, which is time. And luckily, time is the most important factor. When you look at the wealth formula, you should notice something really important. Time is the only variable with an exponential impact. This might not seem like a big deal in the short run. A higher initial investment or a higher rate of return might appear to be more significant. But let's look at the charts. Your investment growth might look like this over 15 years, but it will look more like this over 60 years. That's all great, but what about buying a Lamborghini? Turning $1,000 into $18,000 is awesome, but even a pre-owned Lamborghini is going for $200,000. Now, I don't think any sensible person needs to be buying a Lamborghini, but if that really is your heart's desire, let's see if investing can get you there. Imagine that you saved $1,000 a month, or $12,000 a year. That might sound like a lot to some, but I think for most people with a full-time job, that's a very reasonable savings goal. If you did that every year between age 22 and age 62 and earned just a 5% return on your investment, your wealth would look like this. That's $1.4 million, enough to buy a Lamborghini, a house with a garage for it, and still have hundreds of thousands of dollars left over. All of that just from $1,000 a month in savings. Of course, to reach financial freedom before I turn 30 years old, I'm trying to save a lot more than $1,000 a month. In fact, in 2024, I'm hoping to save $70,000 in the year. If I saved $70,000 from now until my 62nd birthday and earned a 5% return on my investment, my wealth would look like this. That's $8.5 million in my early 60s. That's enough to buy a Lamborghini, a $1 million house, and still have more money than I would ever need. That's rich. Of course, if you've watched other videos on this YouTube channel, you probably know that buying a Lamborghini is not in my plans. In fact, I'm not even sure that I'll work until I'm 62, which means the only way that I'll have $8.5 million is if you like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. But the point is, investing can make you rich. It probably won't make you rich overnight, but if the stock market continues to perform in the way it has over the last 100 years, even relatively modest savings could make you rich in the long run. Of course, real investing will never be as pretty as the smooth curves that I've been showing. Growth is messy, and past performance does not guarantee future results. But even with these complications, investing absolutely can make you rich. It's not a magic pill, and there's no substitute for hard work, consistent saving, and common sense. But there's reason for optimism. Investing can make you rich, even if you're a regular person. That alone is pretty incredible. And before you go, I should note that a lot of what I've talked about today is informed by historical data. So a very good question is, will the stock market continue to grow? Well, I'm not a financial advisor, and I definitely can't see the future. But I did recently release a video where I explained the 4 reasons that I think the stock market will continue to grow in the long run. I hope you'll check that video next, and I'll see you next time.